tiny little small kitchen. We're going to be trying to send some healthy eating videos, some cooking videos out to you guys. Myself, I love cooking. I like cooking a lot of different things. One thing I'm not very great at is baking. And that's what we're going to be doing today. So Miss Bitsy's birthday is on Monday.
Woohoo!
So we're going to be baking her a cake. But it is a little bit different kind of cake. And Miss Bitsy will tell you about that.
So Mr. Janicki and I have been eating plant-based for a little over a month, which means that we don't eat anything that comes from animals. So meat, eggs, milk, cheese. So this cake is going to be a plant-based cake, which means that it doesn't have any milk or eggs, which is typically in cake recipes. Which also means that it's a little bit lower in fat content, so it is like a healthier cake recipe. Instead of oil or eggs, we're going to be using unsweetened applesauce, which kind of gives it the same type of cake texture. And then instead of normal milk, we're going to be using soy milk. But you can still use normal milk if you want to in your recipe. I don't think it's going to make that big of a difference. Or you can use something like soy milk or almond milk or oat milk if you want as well.
Awesome.
So first we're going to wash our hands because we've been petting our dogs. And we want clean hands.
You may see our dogs throughout the video. Here they are down here.
Tiny.
They like to be kitchen helpers as well. Especially Finn. He's laying in the corner over here. He's a good helper, but he's often in the way. So you may see them or see us tripping over them during the video.
Okay, so you can kind of see on our counters we got all of our ingredients out and ready to go. We're going to preheat the oven to 350 degrees. Fun. And then I separated our ingredients into the dry ingredients and wet ingredients because when you make a cake, you typically combine the dry ingredients first and the wet ingredients separately, and then you mix them together. So that's why we've got these set out. We also have all of our measuring cups and measuring spoons ready for us to use too. But the first thing we're going to do is we're going to mix together our milk and some apple cider vinegar, which is also going to make it kind of moist. So we need 1 cup of milk, and 1 tablespoon of this vinegar. And especially when you're baking, it's really important that you use the exact measurements. Otherwise, it's not going to come out right. Baking is kind of like, it's a lot like science. So, I'm going to tilt that a little bit. You can kind of see this mixture. It is supposed to curdle a little bit, which means it's going to kind of get clumpy. And that's normal. That's what happens when you mix vinegar with milk. So if it starts looking weird, that's okay. We're going to set that aside. And now we're going to mix together our dry ingredients. When you're measuring flour, you want to not do that. You do kind of want to sift it, and then you can use your finger to scrape off.
Flour is something that regularly scares me of baking because you do have to be so exact with it that oftentimes I might mess it up.
Okay, then we want 1 3/4 cups of sugar. And then my favorite type of cake is chocolate cake, stuff that we're going to be making. So then you're going to need 3/4 cup of cocoa powder. Same thing with this. If you first scoop it and it's kind of this mound, you want to scrape off the extra so it's flat on top. Oh, that's 2 teaspoons of baking powder. Just kidding. 2 teaspoons of baking powder. We have a little bit extra. That's it. And then we need 1 1/2 teaspoons of baking soda. Those little ones.
1 1/2.
Yes.
This is a half.
I accidentally put in 1 tablespoon of baking powder, but 3 teaspoons equals a tablespoon, and we need 2 teaspoons. So I'm gonna say that's close enough to be okay. And then we need 1 teaspoon of salt. So Mr. Janicki is going to mix our dry ingredients together. And I'm going to melt some coconut oil to add. If you have canola oil or vegetable oil, you can also use that. So we have this big thing of coconut oil, and we need 1/2 cup. Okay, so I'm microwaving that until it melts.
How's that look?
Looks beautiful.
Okay, I've successfully mixed the bowl of dry ingredients.
And then this recipe is a little bit interesting because once you mix everything together, then you add 1 cup of boiling water. So this is definitely something you're going to want parents' help with, to pour in that boiling water at the end. Okay. So I measured out 1 cup of water and put it in here. I'm going to put a lid on it so that the water doesn't evaporate and escape. Mr. Janicki is going to open the applesauce.
Maybe.
There we go.
That's what you get for putting lotion on after you shower. It is open.
Thank you. We need 2/3 cup of applesauce.
Typically, what I'm best at in the kitchen is making a mess, so I like to live dangerously. Metro agrees with me.
Don't add it quite yet. Just keep it off to the side for now. And we need, yeah, that's it. Okay. So I'm going to add the milk and vinegar mixture and the oil and the applesauce to our dry ingredients, and then we're going to mix all of that together. And then we also need a tablespoon of vanilla extract. So I'm going to pour that in. Parchment paper into circles so that they fit on the bottom of our pan, and then I'm going to grease the sides of them so that it doesn't stick. So I just have this vegetable oil. You could use butter too, and then just take a little bit on a paper towel and you just smear it along the inside. Do a little on the bottom so that parchment paper sticks. Okay, doesn't have to be perfect. Oh my gosh. It just stops your cake from sticking to the bottom. And do a little bit more of that. And then I'm going to start pouring in my batter. Alright, now we're going to stick them in the oven and we're going to cook them for 30 to 35 minutes. We're going to set our timer for 30. Whenever you're baking something, it's super, super important that you leave the oven door closed until you're at least over halfway through your baking time, because these cakes are relying on all of the heat and the steam inside the oven to cook. And if you open the oven too early, it's going to let all of that heat out and it's going to affect the way your cake bakes. So it might make it collapse or not cook all the way, and we don't want that to happen. So my mom always told me to wait until you smell the cake, and when you can smell the cake, then it's safe to go ahead and take a peek inside if you need to, but don't open the door until you can smell.
This one.
Okay, so I know that typically cakes have frosting on them, but I have never been a big fan of frosting. When I was little, my sister and I would always share a piece of cake because I only liked the cake part and she only liked the frosting part. So my mom would only give us one piece of cake and I would eat all of the cake part and she would eat all of the frosting. So when your cakes are done, you are more than welcome to put whatever you want on them. But since it's my birthday cake and I did not want frosting, I tasted some of the batter, and with the coconut oil in it, it gives it this really awesome chocolate coconut flavor. So I figured that the cherries would go perfectly with that. So I'm gonna make kind of a cherry jam type filling to go in between the layers of cake and a little bit on top instead of doing frosting on it. So I've got frozen cherries. Mr. Janicki and I always keep a lot of frozen fruit in our freezer because we make smoothies almost every single morning. So I'm going to pour some cherries into this pan. This I'm not measuring, I'm just kind of guessing. I'm pouring in enough to cover the bottom of the pan. If I did have to guess how much that would be, it's probably like a cup and a half. And I turned the burner on to a little bit over medium heat. I'm at 6 right now. I love making jam because it's super easy. And you can follow a recipe if you want to, but I pretty much never do. The only things you really need for it are fruit and sugar. So again, I didn't measure, I just kind of went off look. But I put in enough sugar there to cover those cherries. And I don't add any water from the beginning because I kind of want to let the cherries heat up and they'll start releasing their own juices that they have. And with that and the sugar, it should create enough liquid. If it's too thick, then I'll add some, but it's always easier to add water later to make it a little bit more liquidy than it is to thicken it up if you add it. It's been going for probably about 5 minutes now. All of the sugar has dissolved. I haven't added any water, and you can already see that there is a ton of liquid in there now from those cherries, and that some of these smaller ones are starting to kind of soften and break open a little bit. The bigger ones are still pretty much together. Alright, the timer just went off, so it's time to check them. They don't look quite done yet. But I'm going to use toothpicks to check the middle. Okay. So the way that you use the toothpick trick is you stick a toothpick in the middle of the cake and see that? There you go. If it comes out with batter or like really sticky crumbs still on it, then your cake's not quite done yet. So both of these came out with a little bit on there, and I could just tell from putting them in that the middle was still really soft. So I'm setting it for just 5 more minutes, and then we'll see what it looks like after that. Good news, everybody. The timer went off again after another 5 minutes. I did the toothpick trick, came out clean, and they look like they are done. So I'm letting them cool on the counter, and then once they're cooled off, we'll take them out and we will start putting it. Get yourself a good helper. Okay, good. It's crumbly, so that's why Maybe just start it on a plate. Okay. And our nice jam. Cashews, which are a type of nut, and orange juice and powdered sugar, and it kind of worked. Then Mr. Janicki had the brilliant idea of just drizzling it on top instead of.
Cashews are a lot of times in a lot of cooking techniques used as a paste. So essentially, all frosting is like a paste or something that you can use to design it. But I think Miss Bitsy should just drizzle it and make it look pretty and add a little bit of good taste to it.
Okay, it's the moment of truth. Even though my birthday's not until tomorrow.
It's not the most beautiful day out today, but it's a good day to eat cake outside, I suppose.
Okay. You wanna get a bite? Ready? Mmm.
I love that cherry sauce.
Very good.
Really good.
Very good. Doesn't even need frosting. Unless you like frosting.
Nice job, Miss Bitsy. I'm glad I'm just your assistant when it comes to baking, because you're a lot better than I am.
Alright, well hopefully you guys can try to make a cake sometime this week. Just for fun. And I hope it turns out well.
Happy birthday, Miss Bitsy.
Thank you.